Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Megan from Mego Goes Global.
And I'm Jared Stover from Rover Stover.
On this podcast, we explore the world and its stories like locals, even if it's just for a little while. So that means everything from travel stories and hidden gems to ancient history, true crime, and all the weird stuff that we stumble across the way.
Yeah, so this is episode 2, and we're going to be talking about our recent trip. And I mean recent as in just a few days ago to Western North Carolina. And we went to Nantahala Forest and Judaculla Rock. And we even visited our old stomping grounds in Asheville.
Oh, yeah.
What?
And we can touch on the month basically that we lived there
Yeah,
in 2024.
yeah,
But before we jump into that, we do want to just kind of take a minute to talk about some current events. The first one is so I don't know if you caught it in our last podcast, but we sort of mentioned that I want to go to Mexico City for Dia de los Muertos in November. And just a couple days ago, Jared sent me a news article about protests that are going on in Mexico City right now. Um, and from what I didn't do a whole lot of digging into it, just from what I saw, it was like people were protesting in the streets about digital nomads, basically people from the US moving to Mexico City. Um,
yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's specifically Americans, but just in general. It's just about over tourism and the issues surrounding that. They were having protests, and I guess they turned violent, and so I think we might rethink that one. But it's kind of an issue that I've seen pop up a lot lately with the explosion of kind of the digital nomad lifestyle and social media, and as traveling has kind of become really prevalent online, is the problems with over tourism in certain countries. And Airbnb is a big issue in a lot of countries, and there are certain countries that have actually banned Airbnb, even certain cities in the United States that ban Airbnb from existing because it displaces locals, it drives up the housing prices, and essentially rich people go in and buy up a bunch of homes, and then locals can't find homes to live in. So it's an issue, and it's one of those issues. Sorry to go on a kind of a tangent here, but it's one of those issues that there's kind of two sides to the story. I understand the frustration of the people that live in these places, and I'm sure it sucks when prices are driven up and your city or country is flooded with tourists and stuff. But on the other hand, there are certain countries where tourism is, you know, the entire economy is relies on tourism, and so you may have people protesting in the streets and screaming about not wanting tourists to visit, but that shop owner that relies on people coming into the country and you know um, using their services, whether they own a coffee shop or a restaurant or they sell trinkets on the street. These people all rely on tourism to help feed their families and help survive. So there's kind of two sides to it, and you saw this a lot during COVID. Like Hawaii was a big example of that. Hawaii was locked down during COVID, and then when everything kind of opened back up, I mean, they were begging people to come back and come back to the islands. But you have a lot of people in Hawaii that don't want tourists. They don't want people visiting the islands, and it's understandable. But Hawaii is also a place where 95% of their economy is based on people traveling there and spending money. So there's two sides to the argument, but I think the gist of it is I think we're gonna respect people's wishes as of right now, and probably rethink visiting Mexico City for Dia de Muertos.
yeah, we'll put it on our trip backlog and maybe next year, because I,
Yeah,
I really want to go for and just see the festivities, um, and get my face painted.
yeah, and I want to go to Teotihuacan.
Yeah, I do also want to visit the ruins there too. Um, The other item that we wanted to touch on in current events was we saw the just devastation of the flooding in Texas over this past weekend, and I think the body counts are still rising. It's just so incredibly sad. So we did find a link to donate to donate through the Convoy of Hope. So we'll put that link in like the description box on Spotify and YouTube. Um, and anything else you want to say on that?
Yeah, well, I think the flooding in Texas kind of ties into this week's episode because we visited um, Western North Carolina, which just a few months ago, last year, had their own devastation and flooding themselves. So it kind of hits close to home for us because that area is like a second home to us. And like you mentioned earlier, a couple years ago in the winter, I was on the road and you came and stayed with me, and we essentially lived in that area for 5 weeks. I think I was there, and
Yeah,
so we, talk about being temporary locals. I mean, we love that area, and I had spent a lot of time there previously also, so it's a place that we really, we call like a second home. It's really special to us, like all the places we go to, but that the Blue Ridge is a place that we really love. So
yeah. And I remember, I mean, hearing about Hurricane Helene last year. It wasn't even like 2 weeks before that we were at Chimney Rock, and then Hurricane Helene basically just devastated that town. Um, but yeah, like you said, we spent some time in Asheville, and I think it was December of 2023.
for
No, it wasn't.
yeah, yeah, 23. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
24 was
we talked
just.
about. Yeah, it was 23. And we'd go downtown a lot and finding new places to eat. We really loved that French Broad chocolate factory. We'd go get hot chocolate there in the winter. It was so nice.
Hmm.
Um, and so this past weekend was Friday, was July 4th. So luckily we had the day off to celebrate America. And so we headed down in the morning, and we were going to stay in Franklin, but we took a pit stop we like to break up the drive.
Hmm.
So we took a pit stop in Asheville. We went downtown, and at first when we went in there. At first when we got to town, we drove through like the Biltmore Village because we knew there was a lot of devastation in that area, and we just kind of wanted to check it out. And there's still a lot being rebuilt. Like I remember seeing the McDonald's there is still kind of boarded up, and a lot of the businesses, downtown in that area. We didn't actually go up to the Biltmore Village, but I do remember seeing pictures of like the water line being almost basically engulfing the guard tower at
Hmm.
the Biltmore Estate. Um, but yeah, and then after that, we went downtown, and we went and had lunch at White Duck Taco.
One of our old spots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd go there at least once a week when we when we were eating there, get some Bangkok shrimp tacos.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's just interesting that in the Biltmore Village area, that McDonald's there actually had a grand piano in it. And I always told people that it was pretty cool for a McDonald's, I guess. But places like that, you have to kind of understand that like the McDonald's and places like that, they're gonna be fine. But it's like the local shops and the local restaurants and stuff that you really need to support in times like that, so they can rebuild. And White Duck was one of those places. They were closed down. Also, they have a few locations in the Asheville area, but we go to the one that's in downtown. It's on Biltmore Ave. Um, and the funny story is that the time that we went and we got our favorite tacos there, which are the Bangkok shrimp, and I think we got what did we get, like 6 of them or something.
Yeah.
And the girl behind the counter just kind of turned around and was like, we have other tacos, right?
We were like, yeah, we know, but we just really like the Bangkok shrimp ones.
So, yeah, It was good. It was nostalgic in a way being back there, because I don't think we had really gone. I know they were telling people to try not to come there, um, when they were having like rebuilding efforts and stuff, and so it was walking around Asheville kind of brought back a lot of memories of our time there, and we could do a whole series of podcasts on our adventures in that area.
Yeah, that was a really magical time. Alrighty, so then after we left, we didn't really stop in Asheville for all that long. We did go to the Indo store because we just like that store. It's kind of a- across the street from the art museum. Um, and we took my parents there because they hadn't been there before. And my mom got those cool like poison rings.
Hmm.
So it's for those that don't know, it's a ring that's you can open it up and like put stuff in there. And I guess I don't know. Once upon a time, you would like put poison in there, and that way you can just quickly open it and like slip it in somebody's drink. I guess that's the concept. But anyways,
I think nowadays they're used more for drugs, probably.
probably. But we did find out that you can fit a single ibuprofen in the ones my mom got, so that's cool. That came in handy on the trip.
If you have a very slight headache.
I've got a single ibuprofen for you. Uh, so yeah, and then we left Asheville and we headed to Judaculla. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Judicola.
Judaculla Rock.
Hmm.
That was something that Jared had put on the itinerary, so
Hmm.
we wanted to go see that. But um, it's just I'll give a brief intro of it, and then I'll give it to you to take it away. But it's um, like basically a big rock that has some Cherokee petroglyphs on it, and just local indigenous history. So
Yeah, it's a giant soapstone boulder which was quarried and moved there. It sits on private property, but it's open to the public to go visit. They have nice little walkways going down to it, and you can just kind of go see it. Uh, it has 1,500 petroglyphs on the stone itself, which is more petroglyphs on a single artifact than anywhere else on the east of the Mississippi. So it's really interesting history right in our backyard here, and because you don't see as much of that kind of stuff on the East Coast, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding the rock. I mean, they say it's a part of Cherokee folklore, and it is. The name Judicola itself is a Cherokee lore. It's a giant that they named Judicola. That was a giant who ruled over the land, and it just the petroglyphs themselves on the rock. Um, there's debate on whether or not they actually are Cherokee. I've read people claiming that are experts on the subject and on Cherokee history that claim the petroglyphs themselves don't look like any other Cherokee symbology. So there's theories out there that the rock itself is actually much older than just when the Cherokee found it. But they do attribute it to the Cherokee, and that pre-Columbian history is really interesting in the U.S. A lot of people don't know how much ancient history we have here. When you think of ancient history, you think of Egypt and the Incas and South America and the Amazon and Mesoamerica, um, and Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. But a lot of people don't think of like Northern America when they think of ancient history. But there is ancient history here, and there's mounds all over the United States, and there's ruins, and there's even petroglyphs. And like I said, you find a lot of petroglyphs more out in the west, places like Utah and New Mexico and Arizona. But we do have that history here on the East Coast too. So it was kind of nice to be able to visit an ancient site right in our backyard here.
yeah, it was really cool. And again, that's one of those things that it wasn't a it's not a long walk, it's not a huge hike, so like it's just a quick stop kind of on like a back road, and it feels like you're almost in somebody's driveway. But and like you mentioned, they have the little like wooden deck walkway around it. So yeah, it's just a quick walk down. There's some like farm kind of on the outside. We saw there was like
Hmm.
some cows next to it, but yeah, it's just a quick little stop, and they've got like placards and stuff that kind of go into the history, um, and some other things like that. So I mean, it was really cool. Um,
Yeah, you're supposed to stay on the walking path. It's a elevated platform made out of wood. I kind of hopped the fence, the railing there, and got some pictures with the rock. I've seen other people get pictures of them on the rock, whether they're standing on it or laying on it, and I didn't want to do that. I try to respect it and respect the history, but I did want to get closer to it and really kind of look at it.
yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They did have signs that said like "Don't please no climbing on the rock." So while the platform doesn't actually have like an easy way to, well, not that it's too difficult, but it doesn't have like a super easy way to just get down to the rock. You kind of have to climb over it, but it's not that hard. I don't personally see anything wrong with going down there as long as you're not being destructive. And I don't, yeah, I don't think, because I know in uh like caves and stuff, you can't, they don't want you really like touching the walls because you can
Right.
disturb stuff. So I think same thing with like um
Well, yeah. I mean,
petroglyphs. So I mean, we weren't down there like climbing on it or touching it.
no,
So
I just stood next to it, but that's what I'm saying is like when you give people the freedom, they're going to take advantage always, and so they don't want people near the rock close enough where they can carve their name into it or try to, put paint on it. I mean, people do dumb things all the time and vandalize
yeah,
things. So I think that they would just rather, not that, being close to the rock is going to hurt it in any way, but, people are always going to act a fool. So I think they prefer people stay on that platform, but I wasn't about to climb on it or step on it or anything because that's just not really what I think you should do.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, and then we left. We left there. Like you said, it was a nice way to kind of break up the drive, and we headed for Asheville. Right, that was
Um,
on the way back from Asheville.
no, no, no. So we came into town. We stopped in Nashville. Then we went to Judah Rock, and then
Right.
we just headed to Franklin.
Yeah.
So we went to our motel in Franklin, the Colonial Inn. Um,
Hmm.
it was, I mean, it was a pretty cute hotel motel.
Yeah.
Holiday Inn. Just kidding. It had a cute little mural on it, and it was real close to the like downtown fairgrounds. So when we planned this trip, we knew it was going to be July 4th, and we just assumed, and we were right, that there was going to be some sort of something going on that would be able to see some fireworks or do something, but we didn't look ahead and plan it out at all. We were just like, let's go into town, we'll kind of get settled, and then we'll figure it out, we'll find something to do. So we just asked the motel guy, the
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the owner or the guy at the desk, but and he was like, "Oh yeah, the downtown, no, it wasn't even downtown Franklin. He said that they're doing a fireworks show, so he gave us all the information, and it was at the fairgrounds. Um, so there was like a little veterans like military park, and back behind there was like the fairgrounds, and so we walked back there, and they've got vendors and food trucks, and it was just like they were out there all day. They had bouncy castles for like kids to play on, and um the field, so there's like a flat part and then there's like a raised part that honestly it felt like a lawn area of like an outside like amphitheater. That's the vibe that I got. So we kind of walked around there and explored some of the vendors, and um got some ice cream. I got a Dr. Pepper float.
Gross. We met a pretty cool couple. Their name is Lee and Deborah, and they're from 828 Vibes. So shout out to Lee and Deborah with 828 Vibes. Check them out on social media.
Yeah, that was really cool. They had a like vendor stand set up, and they've got a cool green Jeep with some uh
Kayaks on top, and
yeah,
they just
well,
look fun. They look like fun
yeah,
people. Yeah.
and the wrap on the side, they have like, the silhouette of the mountains, and then it says 828 Vibes, but they give us stickers and their card, and I followed them on like all of their social media and added myself to their email list. But they kind of do, yeah, I didn't actually look into all of their content, but I think they focus on like Western North Carolina and that area,
Yeah.
and just like things to do. So I think they make content and stuff. So they also had merch, like shirts and stuff that they were selling at their vendor table. But yeah, that was really cool running into them and meeting them and um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool festival, and we just kind of walked around for a while, and it was a big turnout. I mean, for such a small area, I think that was like the main fireworks in the area because there had to have been more people, it seemed like, than the town of Franklin itself. So I think it was like a large gathering of like different towns that came together, and it was just this little spot in the mountains and just this giant field. And we hung out for a while, and then,
yeah,
man, that fireworks show,
yeah,
it's one of the best I think I've ever seen.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I couldn't get into that fireworks show because that finale, I recorded it. I've put many videos online. I say many, there was like two, but I put videos online of it because it was just so incredible. And I heard people talking around us about how they were hoping that the fireworks were going to be good this year and that this was like the first year in a while that I guess the city had put on a show. I think either they didn't do it before, I'm not sure exactly, but um it was like 2 years that they didn't have a very good like fireworks show. So I don't know if like the people wanted to come back with a bang or what, but I did have somebody comment. I don't know how legit this is, but I did have somebody comment on my TikTok saying that he was like the, is it pyrotechnic?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. So he was like, "Hope you enjoyed it." So I don't know if that was real or not,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know why you would
Yeah, it'd be a
lie.
weird thing to lie about, but
Yeah, so yeah, that was just such a cool show. But the whole like ambiance was just, it was just really great seeing families out there. There were kids throwing the football down in the field, kids like hula hooping, and then when the sun kind of went down and the fireworks started showing, like, people had light up, you know,
glow sticks
glow
and
sticks and
yeah.
yeah, just it
Yeah,
was
we
just
walked
a
down to
fun
get
time.
food, and it's like, oh, we're in the middle of a football game.
Yeah, you yeah, I feel like either you, me, or both of us almost got pegged like twice because it wasn't just like a football game, it was like multiple kids just sitting there like throwing the football back and forth, and I didn't know where the triangle was or where the passing line was. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, just in the mud.
Yeah.
It was like the time in Peru when those kids were playing soccer and the ball came to you,
Yeah.
and your
All my
your instincts from when you were played
yeah,
soccer as a kid kicked in, and you
my
passed it to
JV,
them.
my JV soccer instincts.
You're like, this is, I've waited my whole life for this moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Um,
fireworks were incredible, and you have to imagine that's the first fireworks display. That's the first Fourth of July that that town has had since the floods. So they may have really come back as a community to really put on a banger.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I I've been to many fireworks shows throughout my life, and even the past couple years we haven't gone to any like, official ones put on by the city. We just kind of like, hang out with our friends and shoot a couple off that somebody bought from like the fireworks store or the little stand down by the grocery store. So it's been a while since I've been to an official one, but man, that finale was just, it just kept going.
Yeah, and the fireworks were so big they were it seemed like they were like right over top of us. And so it was, yeah, it was a good time. People in those kind of communities, man, they know how to party.
Yeah.
So But
Yeah.
that was the first night there, and like you mentioned earlier about our little motel, it was a cute little mountain motel. It wasn't anything super fancy, but you know, when we travel and these we go on a trip, it's like I've stayed in beautiful, you know, 5-star places, and I've stayed in hostels, and it never really matters to me either way. Like I don't really care about where I stay because when we go on a trip, we very rarely spend any time in the hotel or motel or whatever it is. So I don't really put too much thought into it. It was just kind of a and kind of in an area like that in a mountain type town, it's like I don't want to say shitty because it wasn't a shitty motel, but like a shitty little like motel's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's not quite camping, but
yeah,
you kind of feel like you're.
yeah. You're
I don't
roughing it
know.
a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
was gonna. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's not really because we had a shower and
yeah,
bed.
yeah,
um, yeah. So we ended up having. Well, we had a late night. 'Cause fireworks didn't even start until like 9:30. So, but luckily we're like 2 minutes away, so traffic wasn't that bad. Not that it would be, because I don't know what the population of Franklin is, but it's not a lot.
yeah. It's not Columbia traffic
Yeah. So,
or Atlanta traffic.
but then we had a loose itinerary of like some waterfalls that we wanted to see, just like in general over the weekend. There was like, okay, we know we want to go to Judical Rock, we know we want to see some waterfalls, but we just kind of said, okay, here's the like basic things, but we're not sure specifically which waterfalls. We knew that there was some that you can like walk behind, some that you can drive behind. So we were like, okay, let's check those out. So we waited until I think it was Friday night, or maybe while we were kind of waiting around with some downtime at the little festival, where we figured out, okay, well, sunrise on Saturday, we're going to go to Dry Falls. Um, so we did that, and we didn't even think about it at the time, but that uh, area, it's like right off the side of the road, and it is a fee area. I think it was like $3 or something like that for the car. But it's a pretty short hike down to, there's some stairs, and it's a really nice facility, but there's this just huge waterfall that you can walk behind, and it's ironically named Dry Falls because you're not going to get soaking wet, but it is misty right behind there. So we got some cool footage and pictures and just had fun like hanging out there, and we basically had the place to ourselves. There was a family there, but they were kind of hanging off on the side. So you come in and the trail kind of, you go down and it kind of does a J. So you go behind the falls and then it stops. So there was a family kind of hanging around there, but for the most part, we had it to ourselves. And then later that day, we drove by that same area, and it was like the whole parking lot was packed and overflowing, and there were people causing traffic on the road trying to turn left into there. And we were like, geez, we didn't even think about it that like morning is the way to go. So if you're trying to go to Dry Falls, afternoon, avoid it. Avoid that area in general.
Yeah, which is really interesting because you don't really hear a lot of people talk about when they talk about that area specifically. They don't really talk about Nantahala a lot. I mean, a lot of people don't even know about it. And I mean, I've talked to multiple people that spend time in the North Carolina mountains, and or everybody knows Pisgah and all these other, the Parkway and all these things, but like Nantahala is kind of a little hidden gem, I'd say, and yet it was still seemed pretty busy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Fourth of July weekend, but that was kind of the theme of this trip was waterfalls,
Yeah.
and
Well,
we said
and
we said fuck TLC, and we chased waterfalls all weekend.
yeah, that, and we kind of just lucked out on like the timing, because again, we went to Dry Falls for sunrise, not because like sunrise, it wasn't spectacular because you're kind of like tucked inside like a gorge. So like we got there a little bit after the sun had already risen, so maybe we missed some colors, but I don't really think it would have been a like spectacular like, photo op or anything like that for sunrise. It was just the fact that we were there before anybody else, and we got to get some cool footage um of us, just there empty. Um But yeah, so then after,
And it's interesting because in our last episode, we talked about being in Costa Rica and we talked about the waterfalls there. And the waterfalls there are so amazing. But it's like even coming to North Carolina, the waterfalls there, I mean, some of the other ones that we went to, which we'll get into, were just so incredible. And it makes you realize that, like, we have such amazing nature here in the States, even, right in our backyard.
yeah, I felt like Owen Wilson the whole time. Every time we turned a crown, yeah,
Wow.
every time we turned a corner, I was like, wow.
Wow. Yeah. We are
So
that meme.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after Dry Falls, we went into the town of Franklin, and we were like struggling to find a coffee shop that was open, but we were like, okay, all of us are hungry. We need some coffee. So we looked up some stuff before, and there had been a place called Just Donuts that we wanted to go to, but we thought they were just donuts, so we didn't go there for coffee. And we ended up Googling, and we just found Crabtree General Store and went there, and it just so happened to be like right across from Just Donuts. So we are like, oh, let's go to Crabtree. We'll get some coffee, and then we'll go get some donuts at Just Donuts.
Yeah, when we walked in with our coffee and the Just Donuts, the lady kind of looked at us and it was like, well, we didn't know you had coffee.
They had way more than just donuts.
Yeah,
They had breakfast
change your
sandwiches.
name.
Yeah, yeah. They had breakfast sandwiches and like
Yeah,
cross. Yeah, it was good. I mean, we got
it should be called Not Just
croissants,
Donuts, right?
not just donuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna write them.
But the Crabtree General Store had really good coffee. Um, and yeah, I can't remember what time. It was like 8 a.m. or something. Like they hadn't been open very long, which is kind of on us. We got up so early and then we're like, oh, okay, we need to find somewhere that's open. And it seemed like not a lot of places downtown open before 10. Um, but
Yeah, it's a sleepy little mountain town.
yeah,
Slow moving, a lot different than some of the big cities we've been to. But that's why we like it, and that's why we go back frequently to areas like that.
yeah,
And the people are also friendly and so nice. But
yeah.
yeah,
It was a cute little downtown. And then we just happened to walk into, they had a farmer's market. So they were kind of setting up right when we finished our like breakfast and coffee. And it was they had quite a few like vendors around, and just some really cool stands on like local vegetables and stuff. And we stopped at one called Dream Big Farms,
hmm
and Jared got a tincture from there, which was it was is it just lion's mane?
yeah, it's pure lion's mane.
Yeah, okay. Um, so
Yeah, they do all mushroom products, all different mushroom concoctions and actual raw mushrooms for sale. And the kid behind the desk, or behind the table that was selling the stuff, explained to us all the benefits of lion's mane and everything, which I had heard about before. But he explained that, and he said in other countries that lion's mane's used for like dementia and Alzheimer's, and they actually put on the label that it's a cure for those things. But here in the States, because of the FDA and heavy regulations, which we all know about, they don't allow that. Big pharma and all that, which I won't get into, but um, these things have proven health benefits. So I got a little vial of it, and yeah, I take it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was a really interesting tidbit too that he shared with us. And they also have you can buy basically it's like soil with the like
spores.
spores. Yeah, so you buy the box and it's like ready to go. You just have to kind of open the perforated section on the box
You
and
cut
cut
a
an X in the
Yeah,
plastic, and you can like reuse it multiple times. But and I
yeah,
think it was like it takes like 2 weeks or something like that.
yeah. And I've seen pictures of those with the mushrooms coming out of it. So it's interesting. They had some cool stuff, but he said that they have people that go out and just forage in the mountains of North Carolina looking for these things, and I just thought, what an interesting job. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a mushroom forager.
And I train butterflies, and
Yeah,
our budget 6 million.
yeah. Yeah, our budget for a house is 3.4 million. I tune harmonicas part time.
Yeah, we had a good time at the farmers market.
If you know me, you know I am a sucker for a market. I love markets. Even if I don't buy anything, I think it goes back to like being in like Southeast Asia and stuff, which are known for their like outdoor markets. And you know, from like when we were in Peru, like the San Pedro market, which isn't
hmm
technically an outdoor market, I guess, but I love markets like that.
Yeah.
I love walking around. The food is always amazing no matter where you are. All the different things people are selling. Like I'm a sucker for a market, like a night market, especially, or a floating market. I love markets. I thought I'd let everybody know. Very passionate about markets.
Yeah, I enjoy them too. It's always fun to like, just peruse, and even more special when you can find something. And like that I mean, from a previous trip in Asheville, you got me that necklace. That's the guy, he like gets the preserved butterflies and then kind of like coats them in resin, so it was like a necklace charm. So it's just like every time you find that little item, you're like, oh, it reminds me of that trip. So it's even an even more like special way to get like memorabilia or like trinket from your trip, to
Right,
have that specific thing. So it might not even say like, oh, Asheville, North Carolina, or it might not even say the location, but you know where you got it.
right, and it's a really good way to shop local too. Like we were kind of saying, is a lot of like big box retail stores even now sell like you know memorabilia or things that have like the town's name on it or whatever. But like, yeah, there's just something about buying something that's like from a local made homemade. It's I don't know. I like markets like that because it's all locally made stuff.
Yeah. So after the market, we went to another waterfall, which I think this might be my favorite part of the trip, Glen Falls. Um, so I forget. It's like a mile. Do you remember uh how long that hike was?
Um, yeah, I think it was about a mile.
Was it? I can't recall, but it's all down. So then the way back up is all up. Um, and there's three different like levels to the falls at Glen Falls, and so the first two, I mean, they're cool and they're beautiful, but you're kind of like, you don't really have like a great view because they just keep continuing down, so that you can only get so far to view the front of the falls. Um, but at the third stop, I actually got in, which I had to breathe through it. It was like a cold plunge, but I knew I wanted to sit in it. There's like it's just a very shallow pool. I mean, I was able to get into it and like sit into it up to my shoulders and my neck, but um yeah, it's just like a big rock face with, you know, towering falls. I don't know, it's probably like 30 feet, maybe more.
Yeah, that section. I mean, the waterfalls keep
Yeah.
continuously going up. It's multiple falls, like you said, and there's like three different vantage points you can kind of look over the falls. Um, and it was really interesting while we were kind of just hanging out there at the bottom, and you were just relaxing in the cool water. We looked up and we saw somebody in bright orange, and it looked like they were like in the middle of the waterfall, and we kind of were like trying to figure out what this person was doing. And as they got closer to us, we realized that they were like rappelling down the waterfall, down the face of the actual waterfall. And we just kind of all sat there and stared at this person, just kind
Yeah.
of amazed. And, I mean, I know people do that, but it was kind of cool to just see like right there. And it was this woman who was rappelling all the way down the waterfall and just landed right in front of us. And we watched her kind of gather her gear up and kind of her process for like retrieving her rope and everything. It was really cool. She
Yeah.
just kind of looked at us and was like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, she walked up and she's like, "Hey guys," or like, "What's up?" And we're sitting there just like eyes wide and looking at her like cameras and in her
Yeah,
face.
yeah,
And then we kind of chilled out, and I wanted to like talk with her. We thought she was gonna be done, but then she like loaded up her ropes and her bags and headed back down the waterfall. And we are like, okay. I was gonna try to get her like see if she had social media or something and share the like footage with her. Like, hey, we got some cool footage of you coming down the waterfall. Maybe she would want it, but then like I don't know if we missed out on like not engaging or if she just didn't really care or what, but that
Yeah,
was a
because
misconnection.
we did that when we were in Costa Rica and we were in Jaco. We were
Yeah,
watching a guy surf, and the waves were pretty big, and he was a pretty good
he
surfer,
was
and
shredding.
yeah, and he was an older guy too, and you got some really good footage of him surfing.
Yeah,
And when he was done, he was loading his board up in his truck and stuff, and we kind of walked up and were like offered to like, hey man, we got some cool footage of you if you want it, and I
yeah.
think you ended up emailing it to him.
Yeah, so I airdropped him the video because it was kind of long. So we did that right on the spot, and then I got his email because my dad took some pictures on his camera. And so when my dad kind of went through and processed all his pictures, I shared the Google Drive link with the guy too. And he responded and was like, "Thank you." But at first, I think he was kind of like, like, okay, what do these people want? Do they want me to buy it or
Right.
whatever? But it was like, no,
Yeah.
we're just trying to. I would just, you know, when does that happen where you're doing something cool and you're just hanging out? Like that's something that you
By
probably do
yourself.
every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing it by yourself, and then like somebody's like, hey, I got some sweet footage of you. Like I would love that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the vanity in me would be like, yeah, I want pictures of me doing
yeah,
that.
absolutely. Oh, but yeah, oh my gosh, doing that like cold plunge. Cause I mean, I was fine this weekend, like soreness wise, my muscles were fine. We did a lot of hiking and stuff, but I felt so good hiking up, even though like there was times where my I'd get out of breath or whatever, but like my muscles just felt so good. Um, and so we hiked back up, and then we wanted to find somewhere to go for the sunset. Oh, before we get to sunset though, we ate at what was it, the Lazy Hiker. We
Yes.
got so much food. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Cuz so it's like a brewery, but they had food trucks out front, and like you guys went to the pizza food truck and ordered 3 pizzas. I went to the Lazy Hiker food truck and got like some wings for everybody to share, and I got my mom a burger. So it was just kind of like a chaotic thing. So I was like, I don't want to go back and forth with like trying to figure out, oh, you look at the menu, tell me what you want. I was like, getting a burger, that's it.
Yeah, we were waiting at the pizza food truck and you walked away. We thought maybe you went to the bathroom or something. So we were like, well, let's get making a pizza. So we got 3 pizzas. And as we're turning the corner, we see you standing at a different food truck and we're like, oh, well, we got an extra pizza now. And so you got food from that food truck. We got the pizzas and we had so much food.
Yeah.
We ended up having so much pizza left over that we had to like take with us.
Yeah. It was all great and delicious. But after that we were like, okay, where can we go for sunset? Just another, you know, thing that we didn't plan. Um so we looked I was looking up a couple places and I saw Wyabald was it's like an observation tower, and like the pictures online looked really cool, so it's like the tower kind of goes up above the treetop, so it's like, oh, that's perfect, we're in the mountains, sunset over the treetop, whatever. So
What a name, right? Wyabald.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like genetics.
Yeah, I didn't even oh I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that.
Who named that?
But so typing it into the GPS, I was telling my mom, okay, Wyabald, like Wyah, and I didn't pay attention to what she clicked on, and she said, "Oh, the fire tower," and I was like, "Yeah." So she clicked it, and I thought it was kind of weird that the time kind of jumped up by like 20 or 30 minutes from what I had looked up on my GPS, but I was like, eh, whatever, maybe. Sometimes when you type something in on your GPS, it's like, oh, it's only this far, and then you're like, oh, cool, and then you click on it, and then it actually jumps up more. I don't know why Waze does that, but it does it for me. But
Hmm.
anyways, so we finally get there, and we're like, this isn't looking like the pictures, because in the pictures of Wyabald, it's like there's a parking area, there's a paved path, like it's an official thing.
Yeah.
When we get where we were, Uh, it was, dirt, gravel roads, really windy, very narrow,
Out in the cut.
out in the cut.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
There was a guy there with a pickup truck and a dog. He was definitely a local.
yeah. And we asked him, we're like, hey, is there a fire tower? And he was like, oh, there used to be. It burned down. Now it's just an observation tower. So we were like, oh, okay, we're on the right
The
track.
irony of the fire tower burning down.
Yeah, right. But I was like, he kind of made it seem like, there isn't really anything up there. And it's like, he said like 1 mile or 1.5 mile. I don't remember exactly what he said, but we're like, that's interesting because the Wyabald hike is like point 0.4
Hmm.
miles, not even. Um, and so we're like, Then I realized I was like, I think there's another one, and it was Wesserbald. So that's where we were. It was Wesserbald, and it's like you can get there from the Appalachian Trail. So technically,
Hmm.
we hiked the Appalachian Trail a little
A
bit.
section of it, yeah.
But man, that
Just
was.
kept going. This trail just went on forever. It was, what was it, a mile? It
I
was,
think it was a mile and a half.
yeah, but it felt like forever because we thought it was only supposed to be like point 0.4.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we've definitely gone over a half mile. And it just felt like the longest hike, even though it was only a mile and a half. And then we finally got there and we see the tower in the distance and we're like, oh my God, there it is. And we get up to it and there's people up there on the tower. And we assumed that they were just like up there like we were going to be, just kind of taking pictures or whatever.
Mhm.
And as we got up the stairs and we kind of got up top, they had a whole ass tent set up there.
Yeah. They
And
were through hikers.
yeah, they were through hikers of the Appalachian Trail, and we talked to them for a bit. It was two girls, no, three girls and a guy.
Yep.
We still don't really know that dynamic of that relationship, but um, at least the one girl said that they were doing a 100-mile stretch of the Appalachian Trail, and
Yeah.
so they
They
were
were
on
on
their
their last
last.
night.
Huh?
I said they were on their last night, but we kind of said that at the same time, Jinx.
Yeah. Was it their last night?
That's what they said. They said we're on our last night of a 100-mile stretch.
Oh, okay.
And the girl pulled out a bottle of like rum or
Whiskey.
whiskey or something, and
Yeah.
she was like, I saved this
Yeah,
for
they were
this night.
celebrating. So they were up there, and we were up there, and we just kind of enjoyed the sunset, and
Yeah. Well, so when we got there, we were like, we were rushing up that trail because we had 20 minutes till sunset. We could see through the trees. We could see that bright orange sun. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're missing it. So we were booking it up that trail, and it was incline all the way. And it was rough. I mean, I was out of breath. My dad was out of breath because we actually went ahead of him. So he was booking it even more to catch up with us. And so when he caught up with us, we were all just like out of breath, and we're like, oh
yeah, he was like, "Caca,"
God.
trying to find us.
Yeah. He's like, Megan. And we hear him yelling in the distance. I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, making sure you're on this trail. Because you could have taken a left and got on the AT.
Yeah,
But, yeah, it was a nice sunset. We didn't quite miss it. But when we were up there, I turned to the people and I was like, hey, sorry that we're ruining your sunset with our breath noises. Because,
yeah. We were all like,
yeah, it was rough. But it was worth it. And like Dad said, if we had known what it was like, what it was gonna be before we went up there, we probably wouldn't have done it. But we were all really glad that we did.
right.
So it was like, it's a story. But then we're hiking back down in the dark, which you had your headlamp. You didn't realize until 3/4 of the way
Well, I
through.
forgot my camera bag up top too.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, yeah.
I started
So
walking down. I had my actual camera on me, but I began walking down the stairs, and Megan was like, "Well, the one guy, the
he
guy up
looked at
there,
me. Yeah, he looked at me and he like pointed. He said, "Is that his camera bag?" And they were all like playing cards up there, and I looked and I was like, "Hey, babe," and I was like, "Do you want your camera bag?"
and I was down below the stairs, like towards the bottom already, and I was just like, "Yeah, can you bring it to me?" I was like, "For one, I'm too tired to walk back up, and two, I'm embarrassed."
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. So then I had for like light to get back, which luckily, I mean, going down, it wasn't that bad. I mean,
Mhm.
more fatigue for the muscles, but like lungs wise, we were fine. But yeah. So dad had a flashlight. I had that like giant battery car jump starter thing that had a flashlight on it.
Yeah, we were not as
uh,
prepared as we were in Costa Rica.
no, yeah, and that's like
This trip was a lot more winging it.
we totally winged it, dude. And I mean, thinking about it, those people they were looking at us like we were crazy. They were like, "Do you guys have flashlights?" The one guy he even said he was like, I'll let you use my headlamp, and you can just leave it on my Jeep that's sitting down there."
Yeah.
And we were like, "No, we truly appreciate it, but
Yeah, and
we'll
then
be
I
fine."
remembered like halfway down, oh yeah, I do have my headlamp in my camera bag. I
And
normally don't keep it in there,
it's
but
also funny how you were leading the group and you didn't have a light.
yeah,
I kept laughing. I was like, why does the one guy who doesn't have a light? He's the one like leading the pack, and you kind of left me and Dad behind
yeah.
for a little bit, but and then we thought we were gonna get attacked by a bear or a mountain lion.
Yeah, so picture this. I'm walking down this dark trail at night in the middle of the mountains, and I come around a corner and I hear a loud rustling to the side of me up on the left, up in the woods. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's just a squirrel or a deer. But then I start hearing loud breathing. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've seen many deer and been close to many deer in my life, but I've never heard loud breathing like this. So I stopped, and you and your dad were just like in the back, like talking about whatever. And I kind of was like, shh. And I stopped the group, and I was like, there's something up in the woods. And, bears are really prevalent in this area. And so I was like, because, normally I would have expected a deer that close to me would have ran. Normally they get spooked and they run. So we all pick up rocks.
I didn't. You guys did, because
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are like gonna throw rocks at it and like antagonize it, and it's gonna attack us.
Yeah. So we were all just kind of standing there, like, not sure what this thing is in the woods. And as I got kind of closer to it and tried to shine my light, then I saw the eyes, the glow of the eyes. And I realized in that moment that I'm an idiot and this is, in fact, a deer. And it was a little baby
It was
deer.
a baby. It was so
And I
cute.
saw its face. And then I was just like, oh no, this is a deer. I'd almost rather it have been a bear, so I wasn't embarrassed.
No, and then Dad still has his rocks in his hands, and he says he just threw them down. I swear he kind of threw them up because they came down with the loudest crack. It scared me. I thought the deer like freaked out and like knocked some rocks down. I thought the deer threw some rocks at us,
Yeah.
but it was just Dad. And he was laughing.
Yeah, it was just odd because I've never. I mean, deer normally don't make that much noise, and you normally don't hear them breathing like that. It sounded like loud breaths, like a large animal, but it was just a baby deer, and
Yeah,
so noted. So we continued on down the trail to the jeep.
yeah, and we were so fatigued after that hike. We were like, "Oh my gosh, no way!" Like, we're talking about, oh, well, maybe we'll go somewhere for sunrise. I got back and I was like, I am already counting myself out for sunrise. Let's go home. And we were like, not home, but back to the motel. We were like an hour away from, might even been an hour and a half. We were kind of far from our motel. But on the way back, we passed a sign for Waya Bald.
Yeah,
So we were like, "Oh my gosh, let's go check it out." And then so that was,
pitch black again. Yeah,
yeah, pitch black. Um and so we get there and realize, "Oh, this place is nice. There's like a paved path that's wide because the path that we were on to go up to Wesserbald, some parts of it were very narrow, and like the brush was like kind of converging in the middle of the trail. Like I could not believe we didn't have any ticks on us after
yeah,
that. That was insane, and I was so unprepared because I was wearing shorts, and for something like that I really would have rather had my hiking pants. But so anyways, we go to Wyabald and we're like, oh, okay, like our muscles are still super sore, but we're like, it's only point 0.4, so we're like, let's go check it out. And so we did, and it was, I mean, it was pretty cool. It had like Blair Witch vibes at night because it was super dark and it's just like this big stone tower. Um,
yeah. It was a stone tower that you could go inside, and that's what made me think of Blair Witch because I was like, man, if we go in here and there's somebody standing in the corner,
yeah.
I'm gonna freak out. And there was a bat in there
Yeah, there was a little fuzzy bat.
and a big ass spider. But then you can walk up onto the top of the tower and it looks out over the landscape, obviously. And your dad wanted to go back for sunrise, and so many times on so many trips that we've been on with them, I'm totally down to go with your dad in the morning and we'll get up super early before anybody else and we'll head out. But this time I was like, yeah, I'm going to pass this time. I was so tired.
We didn't even get back until like midnight,
Yeah.
and
I need my beauty sleep.
yeah, yeah. Sunrise was like 6 something, and it was like 40 minutes away. So just like doing the math, I was like, no way, you're not gonna get me out of bed. I slept until like 10 the next morning, and we had to check out at 11. Maybe it was 9,
Yeah.
but yeah, he did end up going back for sunrise, and he sent us drone footage and pictures, and I was like, wow, it's really great pictures. Thanks for sending them.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed my sleep.
Yeah. My view was the inside of my eyelids.
Yeah.
But yeah, that last night and that last day was a lot of fun. And then so that morning then he came back and I think he took a nap
Hmm.
as we kind of packed up and got ready and everything. And then yeah, we headed out. We checked out of our motel, out of the Colonial Inn, and we said bye to the guy that we had become friendly with at the front desk, and we headed for home. But we made a couple more pit stops, and we went to our final waterfall for the weekend. And what was that called?
Yeah, the Rufus Morgan
Hmm.
Falls. And that was, I mean, that was a really great hike. And I don't think it really mattered what kind of, like, what time of day you went there. Because we didn't go super early in the morning. It was like afternoon ish. And yeah, it's a loop, and one side is zero point 0.4 miles and the other side is zero point 0.5. We ended up doing the whole loop, but it was a really cute trail, and you kind of walk up to the waterfall and then come back down, and um, it's like 35. I don't know why I keep gravitating towards that number, but um, it was a pretty tall waterfall, and I kind of there's not really a place to swim, so I'm glad that we went to the Glen Falls and got to kind of soak in there. But the Rufus Morgan Falls, and I think we touched on this, how Nantahala is like a rainforest, and it's one of like only 3 in the U.S.
Yeah, the Nantahala National Forest. It's not a national park; it's a national forest. Um, it's one of only a handful of actual like rainforests in the United States, in the continental United States. The others being in the Pacific Northwest, which, as we were hiking through there, I was like, man, this reminds me so much of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
kept thinking it reminded me of Costa Rica and the rainforest in Costa Rica because it's just so lush and there's so much
yeah,
greenery.
right.
Um,
Yeah, so it really stands out. And like I was kind of saying earlier, is that a lot of people don't seem to really know about it as much of as a lot of the other bigger state parks, and Pisgah and other all these other big places in the area. So it was somewhere I really wanted to go. I've traveled a lot in that area, and we have, but I had never been to that national forest before, so it was somewhere I really wanted to go and check out. But yeah, the Rufus Morgan Falls were really cool. Um, Once you get up to them, they're a very tall waterfall, and it's like a steep cliffside that comes down. And like you said, there's nowhere to really swim at the bottom, but you can kind of hang out in the water, splash the water on your face, and it's just a cool little spot to hang out and just kind of relax and look at the falls.
yeah, yeah. Dad even flew his drone up, which like the area that you're in, you're still under like the canopy. Really, I mean, there's spots where like the sun comes through and shines on the waterfalls. But for the most part, it's pretty shaded in that area. Um, so for him to fly the drone, like yeah, the trees are tall, but you had to be very careful because his drone specifically doesn't have the um sensors like on the side. It only has it on the bottom where it knows that it's gonna, hit something on the bottom, but it
When it's
won't.
landing, yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
won't automatically
the Mavic Mini.
avoid. I forget what it's called. It's something avoidance, but his drone DJI specifically won't do that.
Hmm.
So you have to make sure that you're like piloting it well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just one of those things that the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Yeah.
It's something that I'd like to work on, or is like using a drone. Um, you get some really cool shots with drones. You just have to make sure that wherever you're going, you're allowed to fly the drone. I mean, there are entire countries that have drones banned. So
Yeah, it's under. Oh man, because I purchased. So he has the DJI Mini.
it's the Mavic Mini, yeah.
Yeah, the Mavic Mini. I had before uh the Mavic Air something. I just know I registered it with the FAA because it was over the weight threshold, and that I think it's like 100 grams or something like that. Which is the threshold that you don't have to register it. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, when drones got really popular a number of years ago and they kind of exploded in popularity and everybody started buying them up, they really started cracking down on regulating their usage and stuff in
Mhm.
national parks and state parks and you know.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of places they'll have the signs posted, but the regulation for it is you so you can anybody can fly one, but you have to get a license if you want to do it commercially or if you want to fly over people or cars. So that's something interesting. A lot of people probably don't even like look into that or realize that this is like regulated. Which I don't know how they find out who's who. If they have a drone flying in the air, but um, or if like authorities really care all that much. Unless you're in a place like a national park or something like that where they're cracking down on it. But um,
Well, yeah, going back to the 4th of July festival, there was a drone flying over the
mhm.
whole, all the food trucks and people and everything. And the cops were kind of looking at it that were there. And I think trying to figure out who it was. I think at first they thought it might be your dad
Oh
because he had
yeah,
his camera with him, but they were kind of looking like, whose drone is that?
yeah. Well, and back to that moment. So at that festival, they had a fire truck there with the giant American flag hanging from the top, and so we went around. It was kind of in a baseball field, so it was like fenced in. So we went around on the other side of the fence, which was like behind the vendor area, and we were taking pictures with the background of the festival to try to get that picture. And the cop walked up to us, and that's where the drone was. It was like hovering right above us, and this cop walked up to us, and he was super nice, but he kind of kicked us out from back there, which we didn't realize. He was like, "Are you guys vendors?" And we were like, "No." And he was like, "Okay, well, we got to kind of clean this area out." But I think it was because that was close to where the fireworks were going to be launched from. So
Yeah,
I think they were just trying to keep people out of that area. But he was super nice, let us finish taking our pictures, and was just kind of like,
yeah.
shoot us off. But
It's just funny because the irony of you guys going back there to get pictures of the American flag,
yeah,
symbol of freedom, and then the cop comes over and he's like, "Hey, buddy, not that
you
much
can't be.
freedom,
Yeah,
all right?
you can't be over here.
That's too much
That's
freedom."
too much.
Yeah, but yeah, the last day was one of those things where we didn't really care how late we got back because we were just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
having a good time and wanted to break up the drive again. So,
We did stop in Nashville again and
yeah,
we ate at Tupelo.
Tupelo honey. I have to say it that way now. I can't say it normal anymore. Every time I say it to them when I'm in there, and they look at me like, "What?"
What is this guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
You joined their like mailing list. We got free
Oh
biscuits.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
it
is
was
a
good.
chain, but it's a smaller chain, and their food is really good. I specifically like the one in Asheville.
Mhm.
I think they actually have a couple in Asheville, but
Yeah, we went to the wrong one
oh
again.
yeah, that's right. Well, was
Mom
that
and her
actually
GPS.
in Asheville? That wasn't in city limits. That was like outside Asheville, right?
Yeah. And actually, that was Dad.
Because the one in Asheville is like in town, and the one that we went to was
Mhm.
like in a fucking
Yeah, a little
strip
shopping
mall.
center.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the one that's downtown. It's smaller though, but honestly, it was another thing that just kind of it was serendipity. Like it worked out perfect for us because we didn't have to pay for parking. There was plenty of parking. We were the only people out on the patio. Like we got to enjoy the place basically to ourselves. It was just a nice meal, and then we headed home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was it. That was our weekend trip in Nantahala in Western North Carolina. Again, reminder: we'll link the um, donation link to the victims of the Texas floodings if you want to check that out. Um, but that's pretty much it for this episode.
Yeah. Thanks for exploring the Blue Ridge with us. If you like this episode, don't forget to follow us on Spotify and YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel now. Thank you, Megan. And leave a review. Make sure you subscribe or follow. And until next time, stay curious and stay local, even if it's temporary.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.